Born in Brooklyn, New York in 1957, Louis Rodman Whitaker is an all-time second base great that spent all 19 seasons of his major league career as a second baseman for the Detroit Tigers. He put up great numbers on both sides of the ball, played an instrumental role on a World Series winning team, and racked up a high WAR, especially compared to other all-time second basemen. With a career of longevity, Sweet Lou is a top player to miss out on a Hall of Fame induction, at least to this point in time. Welcome to Player Profiles, where I talk about players that I find interesting, underrated, look forward to, or just think people should know about. The first player I want to bring up is the Tigers' second baseman, Lou Whitaker. Whitaker moved to Virginia at just 1 year old and would attend Martinsville High School there, being drafted in the 5th round of the 1975 MLB draft by the Detroit Tigers as a third baseman. In the minors, they would move him over to second base, which would be an even better move than expected both for his career and the Tigers franchise as a whole. He would play under future Tigers manager, the legendary Jim Leyland, in the minors as well. Only 2 years later, he would start a game on September 9th against the Boston Red Sox where the Tigers would lose. Lou, however, went 3 for 5, driving in Alan Trammell with a double and collecting a single in his first big league appearance off Reggie Cleveland. He would end the season 8 for 32. In 1978, at 21, he found himself as the Tigers' starting second baseman up the middle with Alan Trammell, who also made his debut on the same day as Lou. Whitaker would have a great rookie year as he would put up a 101 OPS plus with a 285, 361, 357 slash line, 7 triples, 138 hits in 139 games, better than average strikeout and walk rates, a 1.6 D WAR, and a 3.8 Baseball Reference WAR, which would place him 4th on the team. He hit .303 with a 740 OPS against righties and collected 8 3-hit games. All this would culminate in a Rookie of the Year award, taking 75% of the share over Paul Molitor, Carney Lansford, Rich Gale, and teammate Alan Trammell. In his sophomore season, he would be even better, collecting more doubles, triples, and almost 3 times the amount of steals in 12 less games. His average would only see a 1-point increase, but his on-base percentage would rise by 34 ticks, as in 47 less plate appearances, he would add 17 walks, which would also make his walk rate add over 4%. His slugging percentage also increased from 357 to 378, ending the year with a 108 OPS plus. It was safe to say he did not experience a sophomore slump. His play against lefties would also improve from his rookie year, as he brought his OPS against them up 23 points, and an impressive 67-point jump against right-handed pitching. 1980 was a tough season for Lou. His OPS plus dropped below 100 to a not-so-nice 69. This, however, would be the last time his play would be below average for the rest of his career. He slashed .233, .231, .283, and his K rate went up more than 1% from the year prior. His .233 average was paired with a BABIP of .273. He still put up a 1.9 WAR with a 1.3 D WAR, as well as hitting 19 doubles. He was right back at it in 1981, though, when he would get another 3.8 WAR season, even with a strike-shortened season. In fact, he had the most games played that year at 109, and he earned an at-the-time career-high home run total, ripping 5 round trippers, but his on-base percentage saw a decrease. His .373 slugging would aid him in having an OPS plus above 100 once again. 1982 would mark the first time he would have double-digit home runs, slugging 15 home runs and bolstering his slugging percentage to .434, but his walk rate dropped under 8%. With this, though, he saw his K rate go down too, under 10%, and his isolated slugging was almost 150. He boasted a 112 OPS plus and an impressive 5.4 WAR. In his next 5 years, Lou would be an all-star each year and would get the starting nod at second base in the middle 3. In that span, he would combine for a 117 OPS plus, over 850 hits, 158 doubles, and 82 home runs. His slash line in those years was .285, .365, .438. He won 3 consecutive Gold Gloves, and in every year in that time frame besides 1986, he earned himself a Silver Slugger award. In that time frame, he would add 23.6 to his total WAR as well. In his 1983 season, he had 5 4-hit games. His best by far came on June 8th against Boston, where he led off, went 4 for 5 with a double in the first, a homer in the third, another double in the fifth, all 3 off Oil Can Boyd. He'd later triple in the 7th, and in the 9th, John Henry Johnson would be able to get him to strike out and end his great night at the plate. Leading up to the All-Star game, his numbers impressed. His average was at .310, and he had 30 extra base hits. He had an OPS of .817, and to that point, he drew 29 walks. Over the whole season, Lou would better those numbers. His .330 average in the second half would meet in the middle with his first half average to end in a .320. His OPS went up 40 points, and his walk rate went up by almost 2.5%. He'd end the year with a WAR of 6.7, a 133 OPS plus, and over 200 hits. In his 1983 All-Star appearance, Sweet Lou hit a triple to drive in the A's 10th run of the night, would have a sacrifice fly to score George Brett, and would reach on an error. He also also made an appearance alongside Alan Trammell on an episode of Magnum PI that year. Before I get into the 1984 season, I want to take a second to talk about what Tigers fans most associate Lou and PI co-star Trammell with. That's being the best double play duo, certainly for our team, but debatably in history. While Trammell sits 7th all-time for double plays by a shortstop behind Derek Jeter, Luke Appling, Louis Aparicio, Cal Ripken Jr., Ozzie Smith, and Omar Vizquel with 1,307 double plays, Lou has 1,527, where he sits behind Willie Randolph, Nellie Fox, and Bill Mazeroski for 4th for second baseman. They're the only two teammates on both top 10 lists to play 10+ seasons together. The other duos in the top 10 for each position are Nellie Fox, who played 7 seasons with Aparicio and 13 games with Appling, Joe Morgan and Dave Concepcion, who ran the middle of Cincy's infield for 8 years, Roberto Alomar, who twisted it with Vizquel, a troublesome duo now, and Ripken for 3 years each, and the second longest duo, Jeter and Robinson Cano, who had 9 years up the middle in the Bronx. Lou and Tram would win Gold Gloves in consecutive seasons in 1983 and 1984, combined for a D-WAR of 39 in their time together, and a fielding percentage of .981, which I know can draw criticisms as a stat. They did it from both sides though too, totaling a WAR of 145.8, 4,447 games up the middle, and 4,734 hits. They also played 19 years together, and that is the record for the longest tenured teammates. I think personally, the numbers they put up and the longevity they held put them as front runners for the best middle infield duo ever. Another reason these two are held in such high regard by Tigers fans is the 1984 season. Under the management of Sparky Anderson, Lou and Trammell were the 1-2 punch in the Tigers lineup for their first World Series title since 1968. They were joined by Chet Lemon, Kurt Gibson, Lance Parrish, Jack Morris, Dan Petrie, and Willie Hernandez, who, as a reliever, would win the Cy Young and MVP awards that year. They started out the season with a 35-5 record, which is the best for the first 40 games in MLB history. In that span, Lou would play in all 40 games, have a .317 average, and an .811 OPS, those coming from 52 hits, 4 bombs, and 6 doubles. He walked 18 times and struck out only 15 times. After his first half, he had 10 doubles, 5 homers, 92 hits, a .301 average, and played in 82 games. That would earn him the starting nod at the All-Star game that year, where he would lead off and go 2 for 3 with a double. He'd end that year with a .289 average, 160 hits, and 39 extra base hits. In the postseason, he slumped against the Royals, only hitting .143, but against the Padres, he went .278 with a .798 OPS, 2 doubles, and 4 walks. His best game in that series was Game 4, where he would go 2 for 4 with a double, scoring twice. Detroit would win that series in 5, and Alan Trammell would be named the World Series MVP. The Tigers have been back to the Fall Classic twice since, but are only 1-8 in World Series games. Lou didn't slow down after the high of a World Series win, as in 1985 he would earn another All-Star nod, another Gold Glove, and another Silver Slugger. His age 28 season was great. He had better than average fielding percentage compared to the rest of the second basemen around the league, which was obviously a major factor in the decision to give him a Gold Glove. He set a franchise home run record for second baseman with 21 shots. He totaled 102 runs scored. His 4.5 WAR was good for 3rd best on the team. He topped the team in triples, strikeouts, runs scored, and hits, while landing second in walks, OBP, average, and total bases. His OPS plus was 124, and he had a 3% home run rate, 8% K rate, and 14.4 walk rate. All these numbers were much better than league average. His 1985 All-Star Game appearance was a fun one, where he would forget his ball bag, which made him need to borrow equipment from other players, and even buy a replica hat and jersey from a store, writing a number 1 on the back with a marker to use on the field. In '86, the entirety of the Tigers' infield and their right fielder would all hit 20 or more home runs. Lou had exactly 20 and would post a 110 OPS plus. The next year, he would have somewhat of a down year, where he would post a 106 OPS plus and a slash line of 265, 341, 427, scoring 110 times in the Tigers' leadoff spot. But he would rip 38 doubles and still have above 10 walk rate. His strikeouts would reach a career high that year though, as his K rate was almost 16. This would be the highest it would ever touch, as for the first and only time in his career, he would K over 80 times, as he would be set down on strikes 108 times in 1987. Detroit would win the AL East that year, but would fall to the eventual World Series winning Twins. Lou would collect 3 hits and 17 at-bats, but would hit a homer and earn a .417 OBP in the series. games. After a below-average year to his standards, 1988 would see a step up. He only played in 115 games as he missed a good chunk of September, but in that time his 127 OPS plus was fueled by a high walk rate, which was almost 14%. Even though he was 31 that season and getting nothing but older, Lou was aging like fine wine. In those 115 games, he ripped 12 home runs, over 100 hits, and slugged .419 with a .376 on-base percentage. Just like the previous year, 1989 would only make him better. Lou played a 148-game season and had a power stroke. He hit 21 doubles and 28 home runs en route to a .462 slugging percentage. Mix that with a .361 on base, and he would tie his career best 133 OPS plus from 1983. He collected 128 hits and a lone triple. There was a dip in his average though, as it dropped down to 251. His K rate was way down, under 10%. And his walk rate was up more than 1% from the 1988 season. In 1990, Lou saw his average go down, but he still had a respectable 744 OPS, 42 extra base hits, over 100 hits, and almost 200 total bases. His walk rate was still in the teens, but he did see an increase in strikeouts. The next year, he was back at it though, bringing his OPS plus up almost 35 ticks to 141. This in large part was aided by 23 home runs, earning him a 20-point increase in his slugging and an almost 70-point jump in his OBP thanks to a career-high 90 walks. His K rate was down under 8%, his walk rate was almost twice that at 15.7, and 4% of his plate appearances were homers. He led the Tigers with a 6.8 WAR, which put him 6th in the MLB, number 2 among second basemen, and 1st among AL second basemen. He also hit .279, and his fielding was good enough for a 1.5 D WAR. Lou would continue to put up impressive numbers in the 90s with his 1992 WAR that sat at 4.7. His on-base percentage was .386, with a .461 slugging that paired for a solid 137 OPS plus and only slight drops in rate stats. In his last 3 years, he would play about 70% of the Tigers' games, accumulating in about 300 games, particularly due to shortened seasons in 1994 and 1995. But he would hit .295, get on at a .390 pace, and slug .481. That gave him a 129 OPS plus in those years. Adjusted to 162 games, he would have about 19 home runs and 22 doubles a year. He would combine those 3 seasons to grab an 8.1 WAR with a .309 BABIP, 3.1 home run percentage, a 13.2 walk rate, and an 11.8 K rate, which was a little high, but for his age 36 to age 38 seasons, Lou was still ripping it. Lou would finish his career after 1995 as a major player in a World Series, a recipient of 4 Silver Sluggers, 3 Gold Gloves, 5 All-Star nods, and a Rookie of the Year award. He collected 2,369 hits en route to a .276 career batting average, 244 home runs, a career 117 OPS plus, a .363 on-base percentage, .426 slugging, a 12% walk rate, and an 11% K rate, both way better than league average. Lou put up great numbers on both sides of the ball, with a 16.3 D WAR and a 67.7 O WAR. He is half of arguably the best double play duo in history, and has a career 75.1 WAR, which puts him 6th best for second baseman all time, making him a top second baseman in MLB history. The Tigers retired Lou's number 1 in 2022. I was there to see the ceremony, and hearing the certainty from former teammates that one day we will see Lou in the Hall of Fame was awesome. Catcher Lance Parrish said that Lou was an all-time favorite teammate, recalling their dynamic of calling each other sweetheart. Many players remarked it was a long time coming that he would earn this honor. 1984 Tigers left fielder Larry Herndon said it perfectly when he said that he let his game do the talking. With the Tigers commemorating Cobb, Newhouser, Kaline, Horton, Gehringer, and Greenberg with statues above their numbers on the brick wall in left center, this makes it likely to see a statue of Lou, Trammell, and Morris, who all have their numbers retired by the Tigers but do not have a statue. They put Trammell and Whitaker's numbers side by side, and I would personally love to see him and Tram forever turning a double play in Comerica Park next to the other Tigers legends. With all of these accolades, accomplishments, and impressive stats, Lou Whitaker is one of the most deserving players of the Hall of Fame that isn't in there. I want to thank you for watching. Though I never got to see him play, I know what Lou brings to Tigers fans and the reverence he has in Detroit. Let me know what you thought of the video by rating it, leaving a comment, or even subscribing. Have a good one. I'm Ryan. This has been Player Profiles. Thank you, and goodbye.